Hey, what's up, y'all? This is William, the permaculture consultant, and we are getting a head start on our garden. We're going to be planning and planting our spring, 2024? Yeah, spring 2024 garden. And it's February, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it as well, and that it's way, way easier than you think it might be, especially with today's technology. So let's get started. So as you may remember, I have just tilled and shaped these beds. They were 90 degrees from where they were right now. And then I seeded them immediately with a cover crop of clover. Now that was only a couple days ago, so we don't have any germinating just yet, but I'm sure we will here in the next couple days. You may also remember that two of these beds, this one here in the middle and the one on the very end down there, those two are going to be the perennial beds. The reason behind that is that these ones have heavy clay content, and I don't want to manage that in any of the annual production with the heavy clay content, so instead they're going to be perennials. Now that's not to say I won't have perennials in the annual beds or annuals in the perennial beds. It's just going to be slightly different as far as the way I manage and plant that. But that's not really the main focus of today. Today we're going to be talking about planning and planting an early spring garden. Now, the planning aspect might be a little bit disappointing because it's way easier than you think it is. Literally just go to your app store, type in Gardenate, you can see it there at the top, type in Gardenate, open. It's going to be $1.99. The app is $1.99 and it's well worth it. And then you just type in your growing zone, and then you go to your calendar, and it'll tell you exactly what to start and when. Right now it's February. This is all the stuff that I should start in seed trays. This is everything I should plant out as seedlings. And this is what I should sow directly in the garden. Like literally just follow this. And once you plant this, you can go to your, like my garden, it'll show you everything. I haven't planted anything on this app yet, but it'll show you everything that you planted, when it should be ready for harvest. Here's all their plants here. There's a list of them right there. Calendar, it'll remind you when you should be expecting a harvest, the distance. Also, it shows you the companion planting, like what these plants are compatible with, what you should avoid next to them, and all that type of stuff. It's a very, very handy app. I didn't discover the app. I was actually told about the app and told to download it while I was at Jeff Lawton's Zaytuna farm. And if that's not the stamp of approval, I don't know what is. It doesn't have absolutely every annual plant you want to plant on there, but it has the category of plant that you probably want to plant. It's not 100% perfect. Like there are certain things that I can start earlier than what it says just because I'm familiar with the area, or some things that I need to wait on because of the Easter frost that happens around here. So it's, yeah, that's the entire planning of the garden. Just download the app. It's $1.99. That's worth literally one of the seed packets. That's the same price as one of the seed packets that I bought earlier today. $1.99. Just download the app and it's way, way easier to manage and take care of your garden. That's the entire planning. There you go. You've never been taught how to plan your garden faster than that, I guarantee it. The next thing we're gonna do is lay out the garden. I'm gonna use some of this string right here and a tape measure. We're gonna figure out what is gonna go where, and that's about it. We're gonna go slightly based off the seed packets. But before we do that, I'm gonna show you something that you need to measure on your hand to make life easier when it comes to planting seeds. And the first thing we need to do is take measurements of my hand. And this will help a lot when it comes to the planting time. So I know from like this part of my hand to this part of my hand is just over 4 inches, or just under 4 inches. It's about almost 4 inches exactly, actually. So that's 4 inches. Now, this plus my thumb is going to equal 6 inches. Now, this plus my pinky, like that, from the tip of my thumb to my pinky is about 8 inches. So keeping those in mind, the whole planting process is going to be a lot easier. I won't have to run back and grab this all the time. Instead, I can just use my hand for the smaller measurements and stuff. Also, it might be helpful to, you know, see how like long your fingers are, stuff like that. Like that's 3 1/4 inches. That one is over 3.5 inches, stuff like that. That'll help you with depths. Also, each digit is about an inch. Now that we got the measurements on your hand figured out, the next thing we're gonna do is figure out where I'm going to plant what. I'm gonna plan out this one perennial bed today as well. The other one I'm gonna do at a later date. I have a plan to do, like if you remember the Tractor Supply Fruit Tree Guild, I'm thinking about replicating that at different box stores to see who comes out better, I guess. We'll see. But for this perennial bed, I picked up 3 fruit trees, and they're gonna be, the first one's gonna be 5 feet from this end. The last one is gonna be 5 feet from this end going this way, and the other one is gonna be 11 feet between this one and this one. So it'll give plenty of space there. And we're also gonna be planting about a bunch of strawberries. These are the ever-bearing ones. They're going to act as the ground cover. Probably have too many strawberries for this bed. Maybe not. We'll figure that out. And then I'm also going to be planting asparagus. This one right here, you can see the pink lines. I've already marked this out 18 inches apart. This is going to be my carrot bed. Now, as you're looking at this garden, that way is south, that way is north, and everything, all these beds are running east to west. The reason I picked the east to west dimension or direction is not because it's east to west, it's because this is my contour. All of the water is flowing downhill towards me right here. It's not a great slope, it's pretty gentle, but I want these beds to passively harvest water, especially for the droughts that Texas gets. So as you can see, this bed is in between 2 to 3 feet wide. I don't really care about it being exact, but these 2 lines are 18 inches apart. Now, in some of these other beds, you'll see me plant something down the middle of this, but because carrots like full sun, and I've had issues with carrots not doing well because I didn't give them enough sun before, I want to make sure that these guys have plenty of sun. I'm not 100% hopeful that this bed is going to work just because I'm not going to give it all the extra care that a lot of people want carrots to have. And the reason for that is like most of what's going to come out of this garden is going to go towards feeding livestock and animals that are here. Full disclosure, I'm carnivore right now, so I don't even eat fruits or vegetables right now. So I'm focusing this garden more on passive human food production and passive animal livestock production as well. So like I'm not concerned if the carrots come out ugly or a little bit split or whatever like that, because they're going to go to pigs and chickens to start off with. I'm also going to be doing like the fruit trees and stuff like that. I want them to do better because they're a heavier investment. And anything that survives and does well here, or if it thrives, I'm going to definitely propagate that because it's doing very well in a harsh environment and with almost complete neglect. I'm taking the Jeff Lawton approach to this garden. You know what I mean? Or the Mark Shepard approach to this garden. It's going to be sheer, total, utter neglect, or strategic, total, utter neglect. Now, one cool thing about the Gardenate app is that whenever you click on the plant that you're going to be planting, it'll give you a whole bunch of tips. Like there's culinary uses for the plant. There are like planting tips. It'll give you the compatibility, what to avoid planting it with, stuff like that. And it gives you a bunch of tips on the carrots as far as like if you're in a hotter climate or anything like that. I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to plant these carrots in this bed, and whatever survives, that's what I'm going to propagate. So I have 2 lines 18 inches apart. I'm going to dig a very, very shallow trench, probably with a stick or something, and just sprinkle seeds. Now I will have to thin this, and I probably will do that. I will like lightly maintain some of these plants and stuff, but like any thinning that'll need to get done, I'll do. I'll occasionally weed if necessary. Hopefully the cover crop of the clover will help a lot with that. This row over to my left will get the I guess the Nantes Corliss. And this side over here will get the Chantenay Red. French people are probably losing their minds right now at these pronunciations, and Spanish people. All right, so now that I got my carrots planted, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm at the carrots part on the menu. I'm gonna hit those 3 dots in the top corner, plant in my garden, and I'm planting carrot. There we go. And then planted it as sow seed on February 15th, garden bed number 1, because it's at the top. Days to harvest, it says 84 on here. On this one, it says 70. So I'll go ahead and type in 70. Done. Calendar reminder, all that stuff. Bam. I can add a photo. I can take a photo of allow of the actual, wow, I'm recording my phone, taking a picture of the, that's crazy. There we go. That's the carrot. And then use photo and save. Now I did 2 types of carrots. So I'm gonna hit this again, plant in my garden, and I'm gonna fill out the same information for this pack of carrots right here. Now the next thing I'm gonna be planting are the beets. These are the Detroit dark red, also the early wonder beets, and I'm going to be doing kale. Now these are going to go in the second bed, just right here, and I'm going to do 2 rows of beets on the outside, and then the center row is going to be kale. Now you might be thinking, oh, you're overcrowding your bed and stuff like that. That's not necessarily the case, because these are occupying different layers of basically your garden food forest, your garden forest. These 2 crops, your beets right here, these are both root crops. Your kale almost acts as a tree, depending on how big you let it get, on a smaller scale, or a shrub or something like that. But they're occupying 2 different levels on your garden, so they're not really in competition with each other. The only kind of competition that might happen is between the like the kale shading out the beets, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. This isn't going to grow that fast. So that's how you can kind of stack functions or stack layers in your garden and get more bang for your buck when it comes to the garden beds. And you can also check your Gardenate app to make sure that these are compatible with each other, or at the very least not incompatible with each other. Let's get the kale knocked out first. Now let's check our handy dandy app and see what the spacing on kale is supposed to be. And instead of digging a trench like I did with the carrots, I'm gonna just pinch a couple and push them in the ground, cover it up. Pinch a couple, push them in the ground, cover it up. And I'm just gonna do that whole process down this middle line. And just like that, the kale is all planted down the center row. And now on the outside, I'm going to be planting, put that right there. I'm gonna be planting the beets. The seed spacing is 1 inch, and then it's saying thin down to 2 to 3 inches as they start maturing. So that's where the measurements of the hand come in handy again, because I know about 3 fingers is going to be about 3 inches. And I find it easier with these beets because they don't get planted very deep. Is just to kind of lay a couple in a row and then brush soil back over it lightly, and then just lay a couple more in a row, brush them, and just keep doing that over and over again. You can also kind of karate chop the soil and make like a little furrow and then fill with seeds. Not karate chop, but you make the karate chop flat hand like that. Just drag it along, make a little trench, and then just drop your seeds in. That seems to actually manage better than that stick I was using earlier with the carrots. I wouldn't mind testing out one of those Jang seeders in the future, seeing how well they work and stuff like that. But for now, we're just planting by hand. And if you'll notice, I don't have gloves on, because I don't care if you think this is some woo-woo crap or whatever, it is good to get your hands down in the soil. If you think about it, look at all these microbes that are down here in the, well, I guess you can't see them, and neither can I, but on the microscope, we can see all the microbes, all the beneficial microbes and stuff like that. The bacteria, the fungi, the nematodes, all of them. Those are micro arthropods that fix and just handle all the issues in the soil. So if they're handling all the issues in the soil, and they're out competing all the bad bacteria and stuff like that, then it's probably a good idea to get your hands in it. All right, so I got this bed planted. I got the kale in the center and I got the beets on the outside. Found some fire ants along the way, so there's that. They're just taking the place of the worms, so I'm not disappointed that the fire ants are there. They're still making a very, very fine crumb structure in the soil. They might be an issue in the future, but if they are, then we'll deal with them when they are. As the soil gets better, the fire ants aren't going to be able to live here though, so that'll play out in the future. But here, I'm going to be planting my onions and garlic, and I got a ton of onions. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those, and we'll be planting those in this bed right here. And then on to the next perennial bed. Also, don't forget to, after you plant, record it in your phone. Don't forget that. Now, this bed is going to be a little different, and the reason for that is because the spacing on these plants, on the onions, garlic, and all that stuff, is going to be quite a bit closer. There isn't a space between rows, I should say. So instead, what I'm going to do are blocks, and this is where the whole hand measurement thing is going to come in handy. Also, another convenient thing about these beds is that they're not so wide where I can't span across them. So the first thing I'm going to plant are these shallots, and I'm going to put these closest to you, not for any particular reason, just because that I just want to do blocks. And these are 5 to 7 inches apart, and you just take your clove and plant it just like that, similar to garlic basically. 5 to 7 inches apart. I know that's 8, so I'm going to put one here, cover it up just a little bit, and then from there to there, that's another 8. There we go. And then from there to there, I need another one just like that. That is 8. Now from here to here, I know I can get another bulb, so I'm going to put that one right here, and this makes for a more efficient planting. If I can do a diamond pattern as opposed to rows, if I can do a triangle or a diamond pattern, just all depends on how you look at it, then I can fit more spaces, more plants in here. So I'd measure 8 from here again, and that's where my next shallot goes, just like that. Now, you see how much faster that was than breaking out a tape measure and getting all that stuff figured out? Quite a bit faster. And now I'm gonna mark where this last row ends. That's where my shallots end, is right here. So from here to here, straight up shallots. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is garlic. Now garlic can be spaced basically just a couple inches apart, like 2 to 3 inches apart. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. If you take a bulb, and you can just buy organic garlic at the grocery store and do the same thing, but just take a bulb and you're going to separate the cloves. And each clove is going to be a new plant, which will turn itself into a bulb and stuff like that. So yeah, just break apart a bulb and plant each clove 1 to 3 inches apart. Now some will say that this is too late to be planting. Usually garlic you want to plant on your shortest day and you will harvest on your longest day usually. Don't overthink it. It's just a garden. Things grow without much human interaction. All you have to do is just get the stuff planted out there, especially if you're new to it. Just get the stuff planted and go from there. This section right here are the shallots. This section right here is the garlic, and it's all planted very, very close to each other. And now we're gonna go on to the onions. Now I have some red onions here, some yellow onions here, and then I got a small bunch of the white onions right here. And I'm gonna do 3 rows of each basically, and they're gonna go past that way. Not 3 rows, I'm sorry. I'm gonna do 3 blocks of these guys. Remember, because we're doing blocks, not rows. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the red onions and get those planted, and then I'll mark them where they end, and then the white, and then the yellow. I got the bed all the way planted. There's the shallots, there's the garlic. That's where the onions start. That's red, white, and then yellow. And then right after that, I have a whole bunch more space. So I'll have to figure out what needs to go there. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and hit the perennial bed. Here I'm going to be planting the fruit trees, 3 fruit trees so far, a whole flat of strawberries and asparagus as well. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do in this perennial bed is get the trees planted, because they're gonna be my basis of measurement and determine what can and can't be planted in here. And this first one that's going in is an Anna apple. This first tree is going right here. I'm just gonna dig myself a hole, pull the tree out of the bag and make sure my depth is good. Make sure I don't plant it too deep, because it'll cause issues if I plant it too deep. The roots will start wrapping around the tree and start choking itself out and stuff like that. And I want the graft union as high as possible. So that way I'm not growing rootstock, I'm growing, well, fruit tree. This guy is a Florida King peach. So should do well here. Everything I got at Tractor Supply is supposed to do well here. So that's lucky. That's not always the case when it comes to buying trees and Tractor Supply. Some of you guys said in the comments on that one video, the Tractor Supply that they buy trees from, or tried to buy trees from, didn't have anything that actually worked in that area. Try to plant it as high as you can, like I just said earlier. So it's better for the roots and keep the graft union out of the soil. There we go. Peach tree right there. Take all this stuff, all the soil you bought with it, pour it back on top. Because that's really what you're paying for whenever you buy a plant. That's where all the cost goes. When it comes to trees, don't listen to the spacing on the bag. They don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about for a very conventional orchard system. That's not what we're doing here. This right here is borrowing techniques. What we're doing in this bed right here is borrowing techniques from a syntropic design. And that's growing your annuals in between your perennial trees as your trees grow up. So that way there's no wasted space, because between this tree and the peach, there's going to be a lot of sunlight. You might as well use that sunlight for annual production until your perennials start shading out anything that's around here. Now, I will be increasing the varieties and the species that are in these perennial beds as the season progresses. I wanted to hurry up and get these fruit trees in before they started becoming vegetative. I want that root growth to happen as much as possible before this heavy summer or this really, really hot summer comes into play. I'll be adding like rosemary, thyme, oregano, some blueberry bushes, some maybe some other bushes like maybe goji or something like that. And then also I'm about to plant asparagus and strawberries as well. So the next thing I'm going to be planting are these asparagus. And I'm going to put this asparagus on the ends of the rows. Now there's 3 roots in here and then 4 roots in here. So I'm going to do 2 right here, move 18 inches, and then do 2 right here again. I'll use up 2 of these bags, I should say, on this side, and then 2 bags over there on that side. Also got to make sure you're not kneeling in any, what's it called? Anthills. All right, so there's 1 root there. There is another root there, and 2 more roots. And it's saying dig about 6 inches down, lay it horizontally, and then move on. So I'm gonna grab a shovel. There we go. There's that guy. There's that guy. Cover those up a little bit. This is real clumpy soil because this is that heavy clay area. Now what I'm going to do is plant a strawberry right in the middle of them. And the reason for that is that this is going to act as a ground cover. These asparagus are going to be stalks, so they're going to grow straight up. This strawberry is going to spread out. They're occupying different spaces in the garden, so there is absolutely no problem planting them right next to each other because they're not in competition with each other. There we go. There's another strawberry, and I look forward to propagating those so I can get those spread out, especially on the swales, all kinds of stuff. And I'm just going to copy this same process down on the other end, and then in between the hole spacing, I'm going to be planting strawberries. I have 15, I think, so far. Now, the last thing to plant, honestly, are the potatoes right here. I got, what was it, Yukon Gold and Kennebec. So I got seed potatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut them up and to like, you know, actual seeds, I should say. I'm gonna cut them up and then I'm gonna go ahead and get them planted on the 5th raised bed right over here. Make sure you have 2 or 3 of these sprouts per cutting, and that just increases viability and stuff like that. These are the Yukon Golds. The first ones were the Kennebecs. There we go, Yukon Golds and the Kennebecs. So I'm gonna do 2 rows on this bed. I'm gonna use probably the shovel or rake to make the rows, because they need to get pretty deep, because I'm not gonna hill them. So I'm gonna get their final depth right now. I'm gonna do 2 rows, and then I'm gonna come back through and fill the rows with the seed potatoes and then cover them back up. All right, that's it. I got the potatoes planted in that bed. Then I have my perennial bed with the peach, apple, and pear tree. Also the, yeah, now you guys can see. And also the strawberries and the asparagus as well. In this bed, I have the onions over there on that side. I have garlic and shallots right here. And then I have my, oh yeah, this is why you label your beds and stuff, because I forgot what it was already. Beets on the outside, 2 rows, and then down the center is going to be the kale. And then that first bed is the experimental, basically, carrot bed. And that's all that's gonna happen in these beds so far. These last 3 beds, probably gonna be dedicated to like warmer weather stuff. I'm just gonna let the cover crop of clover come up and probably just let them chill out. The last bed is going to be a perennial bed, and I'm still deciding on how I'm gonna do that, so stay tuned for that one. And like I said before, this perennial bed right here is going to be receiving a lot more perennials, so stay tuned for those as well. If you guys need help with your own homestead or farm or whatever, hit the links down below for consultations. Also, in March, the Kentucky Sustainable Living Festival is going to be going on. I'm going to be teaching 2 different classes there. There's a discount code down below, so use that link to get your tickets. And until next time, I'll see you.